Hello and welcome, everyone. Good afternoon to those who are in my time zone, and good morning or good evening wherever you are, if you're in a different time zone or possibly looking through this at another time. Today we will be having an amazing conversation with Derek Scott III, who is the creative director and a campus minister at the Wellness Project, which is extremely exciting. We are going to be talking about college-age young adults at the intersection of faith and mental health, because this is a part of our ongoing series here at Springtide Research Institute, where we are devoted to sort of exploring the inner lives of young people. And for 2022 and beyond, we will be focusing on mental health. And so before we bring on Derek Scott III, allow me to introduce myself. So my name is Ivan Brea. I am a community engagement intern here at Springtide. And as well, I am a rising senior in college at New York University. And now we will have Derek Scott III with us. Awesome. Okay, let's see. Here, sorry y'all, little technical difficulties. Let's accept them. Here. Okay, while we're doing this, let me just all right, oh, there we are. Awesome. Sorry for the technical difficulties there.
That's okay. That's okay. Let me wanna yeah, my phone should have a good enough charge there. So, hello, Ivan, right?
Exactly right.
Yes.
How are you?
I am well. I am well. Doing very good. How are you, my friend?
I'm good. Thank you so much for being here. I'm so excited to have this conversation with you.
No, thanks for the invitation. I'm super stoked and really honored that y'all reach out, and I just love all the work that Springtide is doing, and we heard about you joining their work. I was just like, this is really cool, and so yeah, we could talk about all the things today.
Yeah, of course. Well, thank you. Well, here at Springtime, we're excited about the work that y'all are doing at the Wellness Project. So it's such an honor. And so first, I guess the first question I have is first I would like to ask you to tell us a little bit about yourself for our audience. What led you to pursue a vocation, sort of a vocation and career in ministry, and
Yeah.
specifically with this focus on young adults and college ministry? And in addition to this, how did you end up where you are? Tell us how that happened.
Super cool. Can you hear me okay? Is my
Yes, it's
right? Okay,
perfect.
good. So, Derek Scott III again. I actually grew up in a family that spent a lot of time in church. So from a young age, I was in church 4 days a week on an easy week. We were the folks who open the church, close the church, all that stuff, and I loved it. I loved the rhythm that we kept, and it really fit for me. It didn't fit for everybody in my family, but it really fit for me. And I ended up changing churches in high school, leaving the church I grew up in, and entered into a United Methodist church, which opened up that denominational world to me. And so I started in this work of college-aged and young adult ministry when I was 22. I hadn't finished undergrad yet, but I was able to be a director of ministry to college-aged young adults. Honestly, thought that I'd only be doing it for about 2 years, and eventually I found my calling, found all the just the where my life and my gifts and all of the dreams sort of fit, and my ability to make a positive contribution to the world through college and young adult ministry. And so I worked at that local church 9 years, and then went to work for our denomination here in Florida, where we started a campus ministry called Campus and City Wesley Foundation. So me and a team of friends founded that campus ministry in 2011, and that's where I've been for the last 11 years. And I'm now actually transitioning, still connected to Campus to City, but I'm transitioning full-time to a platform to create resources and to explore community and discipleship for college-age young adults through Studio Wesley, which is what the Wellness Project is connected to. And so I'm still hanging out with college-age young adults. I will say that that generation and that moment, that 18 to 24, really 17 to 25 age range, those are my people. I'm 42 now, so you think that I would like, and I've got friends my age, but man, do I love hanging out with that generation. Like, y'all are people, and I love it. And I love just coming alongside the generation and hopefully supporting you all on your journey into adulthood. So that's a super snapshot, but there we are.
Yeah, no, thank you so incredibly much for that. And I find it so interesting that, you started sort of getting into sort of campus ministry, college ministry while you were in college, while you were 22 years old, which I think is who better to talk about sort of the inner lives of young people than a young person. So that, that's sort of incredible. And to see also that trajectory of sort of that initial spark and fire with your faith, starting as a child and continuing on with the focus on young people is just so amazing to see. And so you talked, a little bit about the Wellness Project, and you're part of the Wellness Project team, which is essentially a project for our listeners out there that is designed to sort of support young adults at the intersection of faith and mental health, which I find really sort of interesting as a person of faith, and I find that my spirituality has, sort of really had a profound sort of impact on, my mental health. And so, it's amazing to see a project like this. And so my question, I guess, is how did this project come to be, and what do you hope it will provide for young adults and their loved ones?
Yeah, so as we were, and I'll just say that being in campus ministry, college ministry, ministry to young adults for 20 years, I feel like the current generation is experiencing such a degree of disruption and complexity. So many things that I personally, I don't remember it being this tough when I was in my early 20s, watching a couple of generations come through. I feel like this generation right now that is living through the pandemic, living through just an incredible and prescient climate crisis, political and government crises in a way that we have never had to even interact with these environments before. It's just so much. The economy and jobs and how much it costs to get an education if that's what you're going to do, and the mismatch of the education you get and all of these things on top of just the interpersonal exploration that is supposed to happen. And I think that this generation is up against a whole lot more than any other generation has experienced. So that's an opinion with anecdotes, yes. And so looking at this generation, it just felt like as a campus minister, if my job is to come alongside to create spaces where college-age young adults can begin to get tools so that they can go into adulthood, yes, so they can thrive spiritually, but really to thrive completely as whole beings, it just felt like we had to address the mental health and wellness crisis that we were experiencing. Listening to college-age young adults, our students, listening to the trauma they were processing, that yes, they've got words and language for now, many of them, but still just the need to get through it and to overcome it, but also just to even be able to name it. And so we had a conversation within some of the spaces in our denomination here in Florida. What can we do? and a specific organization called the Florida United Methodist Foundation. They are one of many groups within the United Methodist Church that works with finances and assets and things like that, but they also provide grants and stuff specifically for the next generation. And we spent about a year talking about what might we do to just start the conversation, to address, we know the enormity is vast. Could we even like get a drop in the bucket? And so that's where the Wellness Project comes from. It's a partnership of multiple groups within Florida United Methodism who are just trying to elevate the conversation of mental health and wellness, specifically as it relates to college-aged young adults, and to begin to get some resources out there so that at the very basic level we have normalized this conversation. That there are words, there is language, there are environments, there is an understanding that mental health, one, is something that we all need to be working on. In the same way that we are physical beings and we are intellectual beings, and oh my gosh, as a campus minister, we're spiritual beings. We are mental, intellectual, emotional beings as well. And so working on our own mental health and wellness it's about the whole person. And there's a huge intersection as it relates to faith. And so that's how we got started with this Wellness Project idea.
Yeah, that's so amazing to hear. I think you touched on so many important points, and I think that you sort of are so right about, I think, this generation sort of living through so much and sort of having this mental health crisis that seems like it didn't really exist, in previous generations. I think it's interesting because, so for those listening here at Springtide, we have a podcast actually called the Voices of Young People podcast. And many of our latest episode for season 7, which is our latest episode, many young people talked about how much their mental health or their activism is affected by current events such as the climate crisis, environmental issues. Unfortunately, the past few months, a lot of school shootings and things of that nature. I think that it's great to sort of, have a project like this that really sort of listens to young people and then tries to help young which I think is amazing. And you talked about this project being composed of many people of the Methodist denomination, which I think is very interesting. And so, that sort of goes into my next question, because I think, for me as a young person currently in college, and a practicing religious person, specifically the Catholic denomination, I find that I'm most at peace when I'm practicing my faith, whether that be through private prayer or in public, such as in the Mass. And yet, for so many people, I find that they actually have the opposite experience. And so I guess my question is, what is something campus ministers do to help foster a sense of peace and create spaces where young people's mental and wellness are emphasized?
Absolutely. And Ivan, I love your journey of hearing your journey. I am United Methodist, but I am sometimes tell my friends I'm also a back row Catholic. I go to Mass as much as I can, and I'll tell you one of the reasons why is because for me, the Mass and just the environment that many Catholic churches create, it's actually really helpful for both my spiritual journey as well as my mental health journey. I think one of the things that we have to realize is that not everybody needs the same things, and that's really interesting and sometimes difficult when we're talking about trying to serve a lot of students. But the truth is, there are some students, like possibly you and I, who need an environment full of rich symbolism, but not a lot of stimulus, so that we can all the voices in our heads can calm down, right? And then I have some students, they do really need this loud, dynamic situation that's kind of bigger than them, so that they can sort of put the things they're worried about sort of in a less loud place. This music I'm experiencing, this presentation I've got right now, it's bigger than my anxiety. Some are going to need spaces where there are very few people, and it's a small group, and people are talking and sharing stories. And some need to be able to sort of hear a story and not say a thing, and just sort of be. So not every student, not every person needs the same thing. And so one of the things we as campus ministers can do is, one, just be aware of that and be honest that this is what we can provide. This is what we can get. And some of us in campus ministry, collegiate ministry, we're able to provide many different types of environments. We're a multi-campus ministry, and so we've been able at different times in our tenure to provide some spaces that are a little more reflective and some other spaces that are a little louder, some spaces that are a little more one-on-one, and then some spaces that are just sort of group invite kind of thing. We've been able to do that. Not everybody's able to do it. So I think, one, campus ministry is just, let's be honest that here's what we can provide, and let's be really thoughtful about the fact that not every student, especially students who are going through crisis, particularly students who are trying to get some bearings so that they can even start the work of mental health and wellness. We're all going to need different things, and so let's recognize we can only do so much, but we can still have the conversation. We can point people in specific directions, and I think even just starting really at the place that, I mean, even though Ivan, you and I will be sitting in the Catholic Mass together, and that'll be really good for us, not everybody needs what you and I may need, right? And so being aware of that, and then we take the appropriate steps after that.
Yeah, no, that's a an amazing what's it called answer, I think, and I think you're so right that I think sometimes we try to find a one size fits all solution, sort of not this. I think especially when it comes to I think both faith and mental health. So many
Yes.
people can find peace, when they're sort of with a lot of people and with friends, and being sort of an extroverted environment. While for other people, that's overwhelming and very anxiety. Goes with spiritual practices. I think that's totally right and accurate.
And
So
Ivan, I'll just add this one piece. Because spiritual spaces have been difficult, hard, traumatic
yes,
for many,
definitely.
we sometimes have to be okay with some of our folks saying, I just can't.
Hmm.
I just so we then ask the question, how can we come alongside someone? And sometimes coming alongside someone is saying it's okay if you've got to take a break from all things religious for a bit while you heal, while you figure out what comes next. And that doesn't mean that we have to drop off the face. It just means that maybe when we get coffee with that student, we find other things to talk about.
Ah,
And still be available, be in the space together, be supportive. But again, this is where not everybody needs the same things. And sometimes because of the trauma, and I can just tell you, even though I work in church and I've worked in church all my adult life, there are some buildings I can't walk into right now for very different reasons. I'm still here. I'm still doing church.
not quite where.
But there's just some places and some spaces I can't walk into right now for my own mental health journey. It'll probably be different in 3 years. We can have another convo about it, right? So just again, that not everybody needs the same things, and so let's be attentive to the actual needs of college students and what they need in the environments they need to be in.
Yeah, and again, I think you're totally right about that. I know of many very devout practicing Catholics who have, stopped attending Mass on Sundays for a variety of reasons. It's so important to that, like, there for them, not
Mm-hmm.
ostracize them, and understand that everyone's is different in their own part of their mental health journey and have different needs. And I think it's important, especially, with I think so much what goes into both faith and mental health is that the idea of community. So much of Christianity, as both of us who are Christian, there's so much of Christianity is really focused on this idea of community and the importance of living in community for one's spiritual well-being. When we look at the Bible, specifically in the Old Testament, we see how often major figures had friends or a lot of amazing connections, such as Ruth and Naomi or David and Jonathan. But at the same time, we see sort of this idea blossom in the New Testament, where Jesus had friends. That's like a crucial role in his life. His apostles, his disciples, Mary and Martha. He had friends, and so it seems to me it is made so clear throughout the Bible that it's actually not good to be disconnected, isolated, and alone. And that's the thing. My question for you is, what do you think the role of Christianity should be to elevate our current mental health crisis, and how can we, who are part of the faith community, play an active role or an active part in this?
Yeah. Um, I love, Ivan, just the way you walk through those biblical stories. I'm a Bible nerd, so like I was like, yeah, I don't, yeah. And I'm thinking there's this psalm that says God sets the lonely in community. Other translations say God sets the lonely in the isolated in family. I think one piece is to recognize that the role of church community, is not the whole of the mental health journey. It's not the whole of the wellness journey. It's a part of it. So one of the things that I say to my students, go get your village. It's a little dated. I'm old. It's fine. But I tell them, go get your village. You need a multiplicity of relationships in multiple types of spaces. And this is a part of emotional health and mental health. And so yes, you need a pastor, and you need someone that's able to listen to you, kind of like a therapist. You need a group of people that are going to be personal and travel with you over some seasons, but you also need some people that you just go to the movies with, or you just play sports with, or you're like some people that like, it doesn't go super deep. These are the people that you have a good time with, right? You need the, and this is daunting because having relationships, cultivating relationships are difficult. And so one of the things I think that the church can do is to really champion the need for that multiplicity of relationships, and to try to create environments where people can meet each other. Because quite honestly, it is one of the things that I say to my college students, and they never believe me. When you leave college ministry, making friends will be the hardest thing you'll ever do. And they're like, no, it's not. I can make friends. And usually, I mean, I've had a conversation with almost every alumni that I'm still connected with. Like, dude, it's so hard to make friends. Like, I know. Like, and so yeah, we have to help young adults foster that ability to connect and to ask questions and to invite people out to coffee and to not be weird about it. Right? And I think that, again, that for me is an intersection of mental health and wellness, because one of the most important parts of this journey of mental health and wellness is to know that people are paying attention to you.
Definitely.
I mean, this is often why we will see friends of ours make desperate pleas on social media to people that actually aren't qualified and equipped to do anything about it. It's because they want to be seen, they want to be known, and that there is nothing wrong. In fact, it is human to want to be known, but that's where the community has to come in. And so how can we, as Christian leaders, and how can we, in creating Christian environments, really elevate and champion and help people learn how to go get their village, so on the day that they need their people, they know where they are. Yeah, you can post on Facebook, but actually you've got cell numbers, and you've got people. You're not putting the entirety of your emotional life on one person. You know where your people are. And so I think that is one of the things that we as Christian communities can really help foster for college-age young adults.
Yes, and again, I think I totally agree with that. And I think, as you said, that it's so difficult to make friends. I think sometimes you really take that, for granted. And I think that's so, especially I think, in this day and age of social media, we're on Instagram, which is a platform that we're both familiar with. I think it's so easy to sort of get FOMO, seeing what's all these people, with so many, but that's such a, the Instagrammable self where there's sort of, brunching.
Right.
With people, they're on vacation with so many friends, and of course, that that's not the full story, but I think it could be very difficult to sort of see people having friends and like, wow, I want that, and going and trying to use Instagram, as you said, as sort of like this plea, this of desperation. And I think it's so important. I try to in my own life, and I fail a lot of times, but I think it's sometimes important to, I think, as you said, like, not be awkward, reach out, it's like, I'll just be there for the person, listen, with if they say their favorite movie, bring that in conversation. I think, it's interesting because at least in regards to faith, I know, of a lot of priests, and I remember, one time, I said, oh, Father Johnson, he's like, you can call me John, and I was like, no, never. I can never call the priest by the first name. Like, it's disrespectful. Like, I'm not. Yeah. Like, my parents would be so upset. But then I sort of realized that he just he just wants a friend, sometimes.
Yeah.
I think especially, a lot of this world, it's very easy to be lonely. Sometimes, just at a time, just being there for people. And, as my next sort of train of thought is, you have had so many opportunities and many experiences to build connections with members of Gen Z, which, we I think talked about this a lot throughout the conversation, which is a very diverse group in every sort of way. And, we people are diverse in every sort of way, have different needs and interests and cultural backgrounds and things of that nature. And so I guess my question for you is, what are some of the different pressing mental health concerns that you are feeling from people of Gen Z?
Yeah. I think one of them automatically is the capacity to receive diversity and difference and divergence. I think, we've got some older generations, one that I'm a part of, I'm actually an Xer, that is just, we were all raised thinking everybody needs the same thing, everybody wants the same thing, everybody's headed essentially in the same direction. And so there can be a whole moment of crisis when a young adult realizes, I am not like my parents. Like, not just my own person, like I am a different type of human. and your fear of how your parents are going to respond to that can create incredible amounts of internal dissonance. When I actually came out as a gay man about 2 years ago, and some of that delay was based on the fact that, like, I am naming that I am different than other people in my network. Will they receive me? Will they love me? Will they accept me? I don't know. So I'll hold on to this, which again creates some. So one pressing issue is that, like never before, Gen Z has an opportunity to articulate. And just to be honest with you, Ivan, I think we've always had difference. It's just now we have opportunities to say it out loud in a way that it gets heard, it gets received, but you still have people who don't know what to do with difference. And so one of those issues is, how do we help people articulate the ways that they are not like other people in their world and it not cause emotional and mental, spiritual trauma?
Definitely.
That's an issue. There's an issue about the fact that, yes, because there is so much stimulus, and there's good research out there that we might not have been designed for all of this. We might not have been designed for all of this communication and information. There's some stuff out there that says we weren't designed to have 1,500 friends, even if it is virtual. Like, we're just not. So it's not that we can get away from it. I mean, yes, we can get off of social media, sure, we can, but the way that our world is structured now, we're going to have to build the capacity for all of this extra stuff that we now have access to, or that we have to interact with. So that becomes that building capacity. And I'll just be honest, even yesterday I was in some meetings and I realized that I was just overstimulated. I'm a 42-year-old man who's been running an organization for 20 years. And I'm like, I'm not well right now, y'all. Like, I had to just, and so that, I mean, and I know we're getting really close to time, so I'll just say those two, like, the capacity to understand and to accept difference, and just the recognition that we are all being bombarded with stimulus, and all of this impacts our bodies, our minds, our spirits, our souls, our inner life as much as our external life. And so our ability to have tools, to know when to walk away from a thing, to have spaces that allow us to renegotiate and recompress, decompress, whatever. These are two areas that I think are really important.
Yes, definitely. I hit so much, on the head, and I just wish it's like we had, more time to sort of delve into all these things. But I, totally agree that I think that, I think also that's why, of course, I see in the Catholic perspective is why, we have retreats where, go into and sort of decompress and sort of have not so many stimulations, because there's just so much going around in our daily world, especially with the rise of social media, where we're sort of like faster with information. I don't think we as humans are sort of designed, for this. And, So I totally agree with everything you said. And so I guess, my sort of last question is, how can people follow you and along with the resources coming out of the Wellness Project?
Yeah, so I'll start with the Wellness Project. We've got a couple of ways on Instagram specifically, since that's the platform that we're talking today. You can follow the Wellness Project. That hashtag is the Wellness Project Maine. That's the one that I'm speaking from today. And that's the primary site that we sort of send all of our resources out. We've been doing little bits, I have this saying, real work is slow work. And so we've been slowly building into this project. But this fall, we have some intentions to really present a good amount of resources for college-age young adults, as well as pastors, parents, and leaders of the next generation. And so you want to stay tuned for that. So again, this Instagram account is called The Wellness Project Maine. You can also follow the organization that the Wellness Project is functioning out of, called Studio Wesley. That handle is studio.wesley. And then you can always go to our website, which is studiowesley.org/wellness project. And all of those resources, I'm sure, we'll be sharing on all of our platforms. But we've got some really cool stuff currently. I mean, we already have a YouTube show by my colleague Allison called Let's Talk Mental Health, which she's been interviewing local mental health professionals and just hearing their story, but also they've been speaking on some very specific topics. We've got another show called Studio Wesley Live, which is a monthly show. We'll actually pick back up after a little summer hiatus on August 7th, which, so excited, Josh Packard from Springtide, who's going to be joining us for Studio Wesley Live. Please tell Josh I said hey. I love that guy. I'm really excited that he's joining us. Well, we did a couple other interviews in the spring, Kristen Mayfield, and oh man, I forgot her name. Allison, if you're watching, could you put in the name of the other person that we interviewed in the chat? And I feel really bad. I can't believe that I just did it. Anyway, so yeah, lots of stuff coming down the pike, and we'd love for y'all to join us for that. So.
Yeah, of course. I know we here at Springtide.
Connie Baker! How did I forget Connie Baker's name? She's awesome! Golly! Yes! Connie, all of that's on our website. You can get to it from our website. And yeah, so, okay. Sorry.
I don't want to come to Connie Baker. So here, I definitely consider we here at Springtide are so much looking forward to sort of viewing all the different things that you all are continuing to do, sort of the benefit of young people and their mental health. And so I guess, before we go off, I'll also plug in some Springtide things. So if this is your first time sort of tuning into Instagram Live Conversation, welcome. Here at the Springtide Research Institute, we believe that young people should never have to sort of answer life's biggest questions alone. And so you can follow us here on Instagram. That's at We Are Springtide, with our website, which is springtideresearch.org. And there you can find a lot of our research. We have one book actually out that you can purchase even after this call, called Gen and Mental Health, What Educators Need to Know. And in the fall, I think specifically in October, we will have sort of a book all about what religious and faith leaders need to know. So make sure to look up for that. We also have a podcast, run season 7 of the Voices of Young People podcast, and you can also view that in our website. So with all that being said, thank you so incredibly much, Derek, for joining this conversation with me. It was truly, truly a pleasure to speak with you. And just thank you so much, and have an amazing rest of your day and an amazing rest of your summer.
Ivan, thank you. Thank everybody at Springtide. I see Kevin just joined us, and just everybody out there. Y'all are doing incredible work, and we're so grateful. Thanks for letting me join you today, man.
Thank you. Really, God bless.
Awesome.